Hey there. Yeah, welcome to this video where we're basically sharing live from the deck where we're standing with Cohere, what we're building, where we want to invite you to get creative with us. So the title for these most likely monthly sessions that we are starting to record starting today have the header of ethos and learnings. So it's really sharing where we're standing, also the mistakes that we're making, and invite you to participate in the process. So I'm dialing in from Berlin, and I would like to ask the first question to Dakota. So first of all, where you're dialing in from, and then secondly, I heard there's like an interesting anniversary almost coming up, and yeah, just curious to share from your side where we're standing with Cohere, and maybe also the upcoming venues that we're opening and the possibilities to really co-work and live together and meet amazing people.
Yeah, thank you, Alistair. And good to be here. I'm really happy we're doing this. I'm calling in from Devin and I are calling in from Nasara, Costa Rica, and we're coming up on our 2-year anniversary on Saturday of Cohere. And so with this, we're really, as you're saying, it's such an apt time for us to really start to share more and more of our learnings over the last 2 years. And the first year was very much around how do we create the legal mechanisms? How do we do this big audacious goal of housing a global community of quote unquote change makers? And how the hell do we even communicate? How do we go about actually building that in a practical manner? And so that was the first year of really figuring out how do we do it. The second year was like, okay, let's actually start to implement it in prototype. And so we've been running labs, been running events, we've been kind of building it as we develop it. And so at the culmination of this year, we're really looking at, okay, where did we fall on our face? Which there were many times that we fell on our face. And we last year went through the Techstars Accelerator, and, we're getting mentored by like all these amazing founders. And the great thing for me was like, oh, that's par for the course. Everybody's just in any startup is falling on their face repeatedly. And it's not about not falling on your face. It's about what do you do then? How quickly do you get back up? And for us, the big learning that we've been doing and kind of really taking the time to reflect on what have we been doing well and where can we improve? And one of the biggest things is coming into a space, and Devin, correct me if I'm getting the terminology of this right, that we've been working with, like using the gateway of joy. Like, what does it mean to actually build something from a space of joy and be in that co-creative space and really, like, literally live our name, coherence? How do we cohere as a squad of 4 people here on the call? How do we cohere in myself? How do we cohere as a meta network and as these gathering clusters of kick-ass people doing important work in the world? And so we've been really just working on like, how do we get back to the most important root for this, which has been we've been building Cohere as a tool for us to grow our own awareness, to have more of to change ourselves, to then have that impact in the world. And it's been so funny, this the pattern of falling into the trap of like, oh, we gotta do all these things. It's like, no, we have to be in coherence. And like Max wrote on the wall in the Costa Rica, that Lake Arenal property, if like we do nothing before, like Max correct, we got the language right. It's like first we do nothing before we're in coherence. And like we've really just been working on like, okay, we gotta own that every day. Because if we're not doing that, then we're missing the boat. The second biggest learning has been we've gotta open source what we're about. Like people like Devin is such a brilliant individual and like really curating this tight brand. And people come oftentimes and they're like, okay, great. I'm ready for Cohere to drive me to the store. And we're like, man, Cohere's a toddler, bro. Like Cohere needs you to wipe its butt. And it's important to do that because it is an incredible baby that we're raising right now. And we're in the toddler stage. And so like we've been learning around like, okay, let's really slow it down. Be in coherence most importantly. Really open where we're at because the whole freaking point is that Cohere is member owned and member built. And so these I could go on. I don't mean to drop too many points at once, but there's been just a really potent time of learning that is the culmination of these years and the culmination of these types of sessions where we just want everyone to know where we're at so that people can then plug in, because we're bringing together a lot of genius individuals who have the wisdom to plug in.
Yeah, thanks Dakota for sharing. So I feel like leaving a short blurb from myself. So June 9 is very soon. We're opening up the hub in Berlin, 22 rooms, a venue to host events for up to 250 people to really cross-pollinate with, some people call it the regenerative renaissance, some call it the meta-modern network, whatever you want to call it. It's like, we're in Berlin, come play with us. And then also come join us in Guatemala. You know, it's like from September on, we're going to be in Guatemala. And then from January on, we're going to be in Peru. So there's really a ton of opportunity to interface, collaborate, synergize, cross-pollinate, but beyond the mere buzzwords. Is really, to quote Dakota, breaking bread, sitting together, really conspiring together. What can we build together? So with that, I feel like it's good to riff off to Max and just get you excited of what he calls a Git book. So within a bit, give us few weeks, we will like just give you the possibility to interface with us in a way more concrete way. So Max, curious on your Git book.
Yeah, so I want to frame a little bit before I introduce what we're doing with the Git book to kind of touch a little bit on what Dakota shared. So Cohere is this incredibly complex, moving, dynamic, iterative beast that in a way isn't us, not the team, it's its own living being. And just as we're getting to know ourselves, we're getting to know this being that is called Cohere. And along that path, there's obviously a lot of relational dynamics that are going on. And part of that for us in the last kind of month has been very clearly realizing we're trying to hold a lot in our kind of ethereal minds. And we're having some trouble with tracking the complexity and in a way, letting the complexity unfold for us. So it's kind of, we've been trying to control it so that it works the way that we think it should work. And we're shifting into a mode of putting this more into the center of the team rather than keeping it in the team. And so part of this, a little bit nearly like decentralizing it into the center, is to focus on that as an artifact. Many companies in the world at the moment are using public documents, public docs, as a way to share what they're up to. And so we are now building a Git book that is meant to not show you or tell you how the right way is, but rather provide a platform for you and us to be in relationship with the growth and the evolution of Cohere. And so that's something I'm working on at the moment, trying to synthesize some of the complexity and the information that we have been, and that has been growing over the last 2 years. And so really coming to a point of, cool, we can work with this. This is the texture that we can work with. And again, I want to emphasize the texture piece because it's not an instruction booklet. Hey, community, this is how we're going to do it. But rather, this is the intention we have. It's a directionality that we're going for, that we want to bring into the world. And we're learning along the way, just as the community is. And there's obviously more people doing this than just us. And we want to bring this out so as to also interface and to interrelate and collaborate, not just on the member to member level, but also on the organization to organizational level.
Yes, thanks, Max. I felt like just to get the people excited. So what, is the directionality of the playbook is basically some of the questions that we're really wrestling with. So we want to support our sister organizations. We want to support the broader meta network with concrete things like strategic partnerships, affiliate partnerships, kickbacks, token kickbacks. We want to incentivize people really like contributing to Cohere to grow the ever-increasing pie, but to also gain a share, to gain equity in that. And this we need to develop with you, our strategic partners, our die-hard fans, the people that might want to join us and grow the core team, because we need more people that feel like hungry and juicy and curious to co-develop that with us. With that, Devin, since you are so hardcore, you know, like coding, grinding, APIs, tech, and I'm so bad at tech, but maybe you can get the people just curious on some learnings from your side and what you see in the next, you know, maybe couple of months upcoming, what is like interesting, you know, pieces that the people would be curious to learn, and maybe also interface with you, you know, also other people are building platforms. So yeah, really just curious on where you're standing.
Yeah, thank you for that invitation. Yeah, I think before I get into the nitty gritty, you know, I'm loving the way that this conversation has been framed, and you know, for me, it's brought up a lot of I'll say remembrances. I've had some really interesting conversations. We're sharing space here in Nosara with a handful of our members that have come to join us here, and you know, just through conversation, it's really allowed me to kind of tap into some deeper knowings that I've you know, occasionally will forget, and they're the most basic of things, right? But it's just like accessing joy in every moment, right? Like I think for me personally, as someone that plays in the vision space quite a bit, but also is like very much a generator and very like focused on like what's right in front of me, like doing the thing. It's, you know, I think that I tend to kind of like look to the horizon a little bit more, and like there's always this moment in the future when, but for me it's just this remembrance that it's all happening in this moment right now. Joy is accessible in any moment, in any environment, in any circumstance. So that's just one of the deeper knowings that I've been sitting with here recently, and it's, you know, it's applicable, I think, to this rollout strategy as we've released the community hub, our online space for our members, you know, and there's this, you know, that's going to be a continually evolving and emergent digital home for our members. And yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful space to gather, you know, in between coming together in physicality, which is where the real magic happens. But what we're attempting to provide is this facsimile of that experience in whatever way we can, and you know, we're providing access to different ways to plug in and contribute online. So that could look like submitting properties, for instance, is a huge way to provide value to the community. So we're always in search of new communities. So submitting properties, voting on properties, you know, sharing your wisdom with the community. You know, there's constantly job opportunities, many of which you know, are available to earn equity through contribution. That could be remote, online, that could be on site at our locations. We really are building this in such a way that it's, you know, it's not only member owned, but it's member directed. It's member led, really wanting to empower the community to step into roles of leadership. So yeah, and I mean, you know, feel free to reach out to me directly on the hub. I'm always accessible. As Alistar mentioned, we're certainly looking to build out the team in a number of different ways. From my side, I'd love to have more technical support, more design support. So, you know, I'm happy to enter into those conversations. I'd love to offload a little bit of what's on my plate. So.
Yeah, thanks, Devin, for sharing. So we intentionally don't want to make this video too long. So before I will hand over again to maybe everyone to share a last pearl of wisdom or a nugget of wisdom from my side, few call to actions. So one call to action is we have still 1 month long the free membership, right? So if you think it's a cool thing, or Berlin or Guatemala or Peru or Brazil, you know, vibe, you know, and you want to bring your besties, bring them now. That's one thing. Then we have like weekly, always on Wednesdays, you get a notification in the backend. We have the member calls. And then bi-weekly, we have like just open community calls where I know that Dakota and me yesterday, we just like met like epic people that, you know, one was directly proposing a property in the United States. And so there's a lot of stuff happening. Come join us. And I would say that's enough words from my side. So maybe Dakota, a last piece you would like to share?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think there's an analogy that really landed for me yesterday, and that is, you know, as an architect, I'm always in that frame. And so I've been thinking of like, oh, Cohere always needs the 30-person long dining table. What landed last night is we don't. What we need are tables that can be combined for a 30-person table, or it can be broken up into individual tables that fit 10, 5, and 3, and 20, whatever. It's the awareness that we actually don't know what's best. We have our suppositions and our ideas, and we are figuring this out as we go. And that is the beauty of the creative process and the trust that we're in, that we're always going to find that best way forward together as a community. And yeah, so it's just, yeah, continuing to learn and lead with our humility. And yeah, just continuing to grow the team of people who share this vision of a regenerative built environment that we can all cohabitate in and thrive.
Thanks, Dakota. Max, some last words from your side? You're good. Devin, do you feel like sharing?
Yeah, I just kind of want to piggyback on that because, yeah, I mean, I think that leading with humility, leading with authenticity and transparency, I mean, these are all lessons that we continue to learn. And I think as a brand strategist, as a UX designer, you know, as a self-proclaimed perfectionist, like I tend to put a certain, you know, luster and polish on how we're presenting ourselves to the world. But yeah, I mean, I think that we very much are in an infancy stage, and are really inviting in our members to support with the raising of this child that we're all birthing together. I think that we all have a very aligned vision, and you know, just a deep longing to bring this to fruition in a way that aligns with our values, in a way that really feels mutually supportive. So yeah, again, just welcoming in that energy, knowing that it's received.
Thanks, everyone. To be continued, and yeah, curious to have more of you out there in the hub, and maybe also your friends that you're bringing into raising that new Earth toddler together with us. Thanks, guys.
Okay.